Whatever you got, please.
I'll take two. There you go.
Yeah. All right. Now we're going to get into divisions of karma. A few more divisions of karma. If you ask Geshe-Maka Roach, he would say, well, if we were going to do a class on all the divisions of karma, we could be here for 2 years. So we're not going to do that. Okay, say Penje Kile. Penje means projecting, okay? Projecting in a way that the thing that you shoot an arrow, right? And what you do with an arrow when you pull back the bow, it's like projects, right? Shoots or projects. Right? To do is ki and le is karma, okay? According to the Abhidharma Kosha, well, actually, Mahayana as well, just a different way of looking at it. Projecting karma is the karma that projects your whole next life. And what they mean by that, it projects whether you're going to be a hell being, hungry ghost, animal, or a human, or whatever it is. But it is the karma that projects that situation for you. And they're not talking about the bardo. Because technically speaking, the bardo is actually your next life. Right? That is a life that you experience. Short, but then you go on to your... And actually, interestingly enough, they say, when you're in the bardo, it's too late. You've already experienced the projecting karma, and you're already taking the shape of the being that you will become. Like they say, if you're going to take birth in a hell, then you're going to... In the bardo, you look like a charred piece of wood or something. Or you could be walking upside down. Or like things like that indicate, if you see a bardo being, it indicates where they're going by how they look in the bardo. Anyways, it dictates which of the 6 births you're going to take. Now, the big argument in the Abhidharma Kosha that no other school agrees with now, the Abhidharma Kosha says this is one karma. Right? They say there's only one karma committed in this life that will actually project your whole karma of how you are born in the next life. And the reason why, their argument is that because it's an unchanging, has this unchanging quality to it, as in, it's not like you're born as a human and in that lifetime suddenly you switch into a dog. Or suddenly you switch into a preta or something. You're a human for that life. And so they're saying that whatever, and we talked about that, the moment of death, right? It's like a lottery wheel. So whatever the strongest karma is at that moment, like your highest, most devoted action that you did, whether be it good or be it bad, right? That's going to be the one that influences the next, how you appear to yourself in the next birth. Will be one karmic seed that you planted in this life. That's why they say it can't be different karmas, because it's like one shape of a life, okay? One shape of a being in one life. And as I said, no other school agrees with this. Okay, useful idea, though. We'll see why in a minute. Most other schools think it is the accumulative effect of certain karmas over time. Like, like if you've been stingy and craving your whole life, Majjhimika Prasangika would say, well, your life will be a craving spirit. So the moment of death is a very powerful time, okay? And whatever you've been doing your whole life, in a broad sense, dictates what's happening in your mind as you're going through, like, and I'll give you a story. A family member who's close to me, and Christina, actually, I won't say this person's name, were recently in a very serious ATV accident, like a four-wheeler accident. Okay. Good example why you shouldn't put your precious body in danger. Okay. So they were flying. He was flying over a straight stretch really fast, and there was a ditch. Didn't see the ditch. Okay. Boom. His front tires went in. The whole thing flipped. He went down and just annihilated his skull. Apparently, it's like a broken egg. That's like a hard-boiled egg when it's all cracked. Okay. His stomach was pushed up into his rib cage. He's really a mess, right? And so they immediately had him in surgery, a long surgery to get his stomach back down, and he's in an induced coma. Okay, they put him in an induced coma. So he's lucky to be alive. Okay. So as he's coming out, he's coming back to reality. The only thing on his mind right now, I should say a couple things. He has short-term memory right now. No, he doesn't have short-term memory. He doesn't have short-term memory. Something they say heals itself over time. So anyways, his sole concern right now is beer and cigarettes. Okay, that's what's on his mind right now. And I know him, and I know how he's lived, and he spent a lot of time dedicating a lot of hours of his life in imbibing and pursuing and making sure that he has beer and cigarettes. Okay, so there was a lot of moments of mind spent on beer and cigarettes. So now, as he's coming out of this induced coma, that's all he can think about. He's driven right now by beer and cigarettes. And he's got the mind of like a child right now. If you go see him, he's very childlike, very mischievous, very childlike. Let's escape, you know. And he's actually violent. They have him chained down or strapped down because as soon as he becomes very violent, he wants to get out of there and get his beer and cigarettes. So that's a kind of a good idea of how what you do now influences your mind. You know, that's not in his control, right? He's forced into this thing. All he can think about is beer and cigarettes. So just it's a nice example, I think, of how it can, you know, project forward. Hi.
Is that the kind of person that if they passed away completely would become one of those
Craving spirit?
Yeah.
Yeah, they would say that.
Yeah.
That would be probably a nice example of something. Yeah. Leonardo.
When you tell me that, other than feeling, I mean, when you tell me that story,
Yeah.
other than feeling the thoughts I feel about his situation,
Yeah.
my heart goes to him.
Yeah,
I think
of
of the whole thing being a caricature of our stuff.
Absolutely.
Could you say that really it's like a caricature? Who is this person? It's beer and cigarettes. Who is this person? It's chocolate and whatever. You know, could
Yeah.
you just say whatever they're obsessed with is their...
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What if this person had have been
Or good stuff.
obsessed with becoming enlightened for all living beings?
Yeah.
What if they, you know, what if they had been spent the last 10 years of their life like this? You know, meditating, you know, doing yoga, trying to figure it out. Like, how do I, you know, help everybody? What do you think that would be like? What was, you know, how would he be, right?
Well, he'd still be chained down, but
Maybe he wouldn't. Maybe he wouldn't be chained down. Maybe he wouldn't be violent. Maybe he would be gently. Yes, Dory.
The exact opposite of that, not the exact opposite, but what you're illustrating is I'm thinking of a patient at GF. I worked in the brain injury program for a while. He wasn't my patient, but he was probably very similar when he was at the acute stage.
Yeah.
He even later on, even still, he doesn't have full cognitive functioning. He's not. I think he probably lives in a group home now. He doesn't have great memory, from what I can tell. But one of his rehab goals was I had to find a way to sit, to get a meditation seat. I can't sit anymore. He physically wasn't capable. He's in he doesn't have very much use of one side of his body.
Yeah.
And his therapist worked with him to try to find a way for him to be able to sit in meditation.
Yeah.
That's what he'd been doing for the last 20 years.
Nice.
And that was his rehab goal.
Wow.
And he's one of the calmest dudes I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
He's really lovely.
Yeah, nice. So they're calling this projecting karma like a time release capsule or something. Like it's projected and then over time, right? It slowly runs out, but it's like boom, you're there, you're a human, and eventually that karma runs out, and then you're on to your next life, right? So say Dzogchen Kile. Well, Dzog means complete, okay? Dzogchen, so Dzogchen means complete, and Ki means to do, and Le, as you know, means karma. So this is the finishing karma. This is the details inside the broader picture of the projecting karma. A nice analogy for that is like the projecting karma is like the master painter, for instance, or the master artist who comes out and he draws like the outline. He draws the outline of the painting, and then all the apprentices come in and they start doing all the colors, right? So you can think of all the apprentices as the Dzogchen Kile, so all the little details, whether you're going to have money or not, right? Whether you're going to be born in Africa or France, right? I mean, all the little details that involve around that, and they're changing all the time. All the cycles that you have. You know, you go through a phase of being lonely, and then being in love, and then having money and then not, like all those kinds of cycles that you have. Okay. So it's finishing karma. It's called finishing karma. It's projecting karma and finishing karma. And this is accepted by Mahayana, this idea of finishing karma and many different karmas, right? Many different karmas affecting your finishing karma and how you experience all the many, many details of your life as your life goes by. So we should say now some really good news about the first really bad news. Is that I know that some of you already know this, some of you haven't heard this, but on the 5 paths, let's just do another one. There are no 5 paths because no one here can tell me what the 5 paths are.
Tamadru.
Oh, Fred, there are 5 paths.
That's what I heard.
You can't tell me what they are.
Tamadru.
Sure.
Accumulation, preparation. I always get those two.
Yeah, so do I.
Seeing, and habituation, and no more learning.
Nice. So what Fred has just so nicely put was the path of accumulation. This is when you're accumulating your renunciation. You're starting to begin to understand the ideas. You're accumulating your store of knowledge, of karma, right? Basically, you're actually starting to get some real renunciation. You're starting to understand nothing else is working. Got to do something different, right? And then the path of preparation is you're now preparing to see emptiness directly. Okay, then you're starting to study harder. You're starting to think about emptiness more, and you're preparing for that moment when it happens. And when that flops over into the path of seeing, which is accumulation and preparation can last a long time. Seeing, 20 minutes. Okay, you see it directly. All your fruits have come down to bear. Boom, you see it directly. You come out of that experience. Then you're on habituation. Okay, getting used to what you saw, and then you perfect yourself. Klesha by klesha, they say. You perfect yourself, klesha by klesha. And that's how it goes. And then you reach no more learning, which really no more learning is not really a path. It's like the end of the other 4. You're done. Okay. Now, at the path of preparation, some point between accumulation and preparation, you hit this point where you can no longer accomplish this. Okay. You can no longer cut all your root store of karma. You can no longer do it. Because you've reached a high enough understanding of karma and emptiness that you're no longer doing the things that would create the causes for that. You understand the nature of reality intellectually enough, so you're behaving differently. So that's good news. And in fact, not only can you not cut off your store of virtue, but you can also not take a lower rebirth. Okay, you no longer can be forced into a hell, hungry spirit, animal realm. Okay, so we're just going to do some quick, before the class is done, we're almost done, is some permutations between projecting karma and finishing karma. Penje kile and zokje kile, okay? We're going to do the mushi musum. Mushi musum. Mushum. Mushi musum is like, give me the 4 permutations. It's like, Geshe Makarot says this when a child first learns to debate in the debate ground. Be like, okay, give me the mushi mushum of this, right? And it's like, give me the 4 permutations of this, because they can't think of anything to debate about, so they're kind of like trying to buy time, okay? So we're going to go through the 4 permutations of projecting karma and finishing karma. And what that means is you have good and bad of everything, okay? You can have good projecting karma with bad finishing karma. You can have good projecting karma and good finishing karma. Or you can have bad projecting karma and good finishing karma, or bad projecting karma and bad finishing karma. Okay, so there's 4 ways that it could be for you. So someone give me an example of what could be, you're born, so you're thrown into the next life, projected into the next life. Give me an example of a good projecting karma and a bad finishing karma. Greg.
You're born wealthy, but you squander it. Or you're never happy with what you buy.
That might be it, yeah. You could say a good, I should actually go step back a little bit. A good birth, yeah, I should say something here. A good birth is human up, right? You're a human, or you're a demigod, or you're God. Bad birth is animal, preta, or human. So I should have said that first. So let's start again. Give me a good projecting karma and a bad finishing karma.
You're born in as a god,
Yeah.
but you have to die.
But you have to die,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. There's a classical interesting good
What about if you were born human but in a country that didn't have any dharma?
yeah, that could be like if you're born human, and that's another example, right? Born human and you're sick all the time, or born human and there's no dharma, like you said. Born human and you're, on the streets of Calcutta, like that. Give me an example of a bad projecting karma with a good finishing karma.
Born animal but to a good owner.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, exactly. Okay, how about a good projecting karma and a good finishing karma?
Us. That's our.
Yeah, we're all that. We're all that, for sure. How about a bad projecting karma and a bad finishing karma?
Born a chicken in a factory.
Born a chicken in a factory, yeah, sure. That's a nice one.
We're born and we'll get run over by a car.
Well,
Well, I guess.
maybe.
No, I get the chicken.
That might be a good thing.
Well, okay.
I don't know. Right? But you mean, right?
Your existence would be really bad then as an animal.
Yeah, so it's bad to begin with. It's already bad to begin with. So then you're born in like, and then so, like, right. Maybe you're have a really nasty owner or something that beats you, right? And your dog gets beaten all the time. Right? Interestingly enough, they have a bad, scripturally, the scriptural example of a bad projecting karma with a good finishing karma is the master at the gate of hell. So he's a hell being, and there's some debate of whether he's a hell being or a craving spirit, they say. But he's like the Lord of Death, but he's not like the Lord of Death as in Yamantaka. He's the Lord of Death as in, it's up to him to what happens in hell, right? So he's like top of the heap in hell, right? So that's an example of bad projecting, good finishing.
Make the most of it or something.
But they say that his, or her, who knows, their trajectory is to the bottom, right? That's a good place to start, but then they're gonna hit the bottom, okay? And an example of a bad is they call it the hell of no respite. So you can be born in hell, and there's some better hells, right? But there's the worst hell, they say, is called the hell of no respite. And they say that you resemble like a filament, like a light bulb filament or something like that, and the only sound you make is this high-pitched squeal, which is a scream of pain. And you experience a pain that is a million times worse than any pain you could imagine now. And this is just constant. There's never, ever, ever a respite. So it's called the hell of no respite. That's bad. That's a scriptural example of bad. Now I think and I was thinking about this. Entertain this for a second. I was never taught this, so I could be completely wrong. So they had this analogy of the worst is you resemble this filament. You're like this line, right? You're like this line, this squiggly line or something that's experiencing ultimate pain, right? And the opposite of that, now we're always talking about the central channel, right? We're always talking about that everything is coming from your heart chakra, which is, if you've done any yoga or heard any kind of Yoga Sutra talk or anything like that, you've heard about the central channel, which it runs from your ajna up around here and down. And it's kind of like a line, right? And it's like when you, certain states that you can reach, you have these two side channels that melt, or disappear, and all you become is this oneness. So all your prana enters into your central channel, and all you experience at that moment is bliss, right? So it's kind of like the two lines. You got, two opposite ends of the spectrum. You got the very, very bottom is just like this line. That's all you are, is this line, but you're experiencing intense pain. And on the other end, all you are is this line, but you're just like experiencing ultimate bliss. So it's interesting to me that it could come down to something so simple. So another example of a bad projecting and a good scriptural example, bad projecting and good finishing, they call the Nagas. The Nagas, the snake-like beings who are born that unless you have special abilities, you can't see them. Like Arya Nagarjuna, so they call him Nagarjuna, went there, negotiated with them to get certain scriptures. But they're have a sort of bad birth, but they're rich in intellect and they're rich in like jewels and scriptures. They have all this good stuff, right? Good stuff. Yeah. That's it. That's the class. Any questions? Marcus.
Does it have to pertain to just what you covered today?
Sorry, what do you mean?
Does it have to pertain to what you covered today?
You know what? If you'd like to, yeah, come talk to me after if you've got some questions. Because it's don't want to keep anybody too late. So.
Well, you could just say a few words.
Yeah, sure. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Can you say a few words about the idea of a dualistic world?
Oh, duality.
Yeah.
A dualistic word. World. Yeah, sure. A world of duality is basically the world that most people see themselves living in. Okay? So a duality means, this is what duality means. Duality means being forced into perceiving a world where there's a subject and an object. Okay? There's me and everything else. Okay? And everything else is separate from me. Okay? There's nothing wrong with duality. It functions perfectly. There's nothing wrong with duality at all. When you see emptiness directly, you achieve a state of absolute non-duality. Okay? Uniting with God, or however you want to put it. The mind, the version of yourself that is forced by certain karmas to perceive itself in a world of duality, disappears when you see emptiness directly, so that you can't see duality, so there's nothing to see. There's no subject and no object. In order to have some kind of experience, there needs to be a subject and an object. Like, there's no left without a right. Right? There's no big without a small. It's impossible. But you can reach a state of living outside of duality. It can be reached. And in order to reach a state like that, you need to cross over. Okay? You need to cross the line. You have to see ultimate reality in a direct way, so that there's something born in your mind, in a certain wind. There's something born that has the ability to understand what it could mean to live in non-duality. Unless you've experienced it directly, it's really, really tough and it's pretty much impossible for a mind to even contemplate what that would be like. What do you mean, like non-duality? It doesn't make any sense. It just makes no sense, right? But you can push through the eye of the needle, okay? Come out the other side and begin to experience yourself and others as not separate. So then you begin to walk in the world and a very deep understanding that everything that you're experiencing is coming from you. You're labeling everything. It's all inside the sphere of your mind at any given moment of time. So if you give somebody a Girl Guide cookie, you understand directly, and it is a very visceral experience that you are giving yourself a Girl Guide cookie, even though they appear to be outside of what you think of as yourself. Before. Because before that, you had this idea of yourself. After you go through and come out the other side, the idea of yourself is a completely different idea of yourself. And unless you've been there, you can't, the mind just can't go there. That's why it's all poetry and songs and you know, like to describe what ultimately, what, you know, the divine, my lover, my beloved, right? Suddenly, suddenly, everything in your life becomes your beloved. Whether they're male, whether they're female, or whether it's a rock, whether it's a fence post, whether, because you understand. Because you understand. Okay? So, so every, like, so if you're full attention, and you're living in a state of achieving non-duality, your full attention is on one person, your full attention is on all living beings. Because of the nature of your mind. And this is not, this is effortless, okay? This is not something that you're pretending to do. This you have reached, so that's non-duality and non-duality.
I think you touched on that in the last class, and
Yeah.
what you said is exactly what modern science has come up with, that the ego is something that evolution has created to keep the organism alive.
Yeah.
So the duality is something perceived by the ego.
Yeah.
You said something.
Sure. Yeah, it functions. Yeah. It's, you need it. You need it.
Yeah, that was simple.
All right.
Wish it was all that easy.
Just a few simple ideas. Take you all the way, really, actually. Yeah.
Sashi Kuki Jukshin Meto Shari Labling Shi Yende Gembadi Sangye Shindu Mite Uwa Irokunamdak Shinla Chupasho Yambura Namada Kamre Sayami Viwadi Kewoku Sunam Yeshe So Shin Sunam Yeshe Lejoe Dambakuni Topasho.
Yeah, like a few simple ideas. Like you can go a long ways with. If you want it, make sure someone else gets it first. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Takes one to know one. You can go a long way on those ideas.
Put it in the nutshell.
If you want it, make sure someone else gets it first. Thank you, everybody. Class 8, 2 more to go.
You know that expression we described?